Welcome to episode 4 of Worth Thinking About. And if you like my outcroppings, it's a maze, a puzzle, alien rock formation. Worth thinking about. Have you ever tried to go someplace quiet? Go to a coffee shop, go to a library, hide in your car. Well, I tried that out here. You can't get away from noise. It really affects the way you think, the way I think. So let's talk about that connection between your brain and your gut. I want you to take a good look. We are about as far away from land, and that's not true. This is land. We're about as far away from vehicles as I can get here in Hood River. I'm trying to, this is the sandbar. That's Oregon. That's Washington, and the border's right there in the middle of the river. This week I want to talk to you about protecting your southern border. And I don't mean that kind of border, and I don't mean Trump's kind of border. What I mean is, you know, that thing down there, right? That paunch, that man belly. I came out here to talk about getting away from noise, because noise stops me from thinking. You've seen that in other episodes. I just stop functioning. I just cannot get things to work in my head, and I'm as far from vehicles as I can imagine here. I mean, there's a highway on the Washington side, there's a highway on the Oregon side, there's tugboats and things that go through. There was just a speedboat, and there's a bridge that goes between the two, and the wind's blowing, and it's just completely full of noise here. So long as I'm trying to include lessons that you can repeat, things you can apply from what I'm saying about protecting your southern border, you know, connecting with your gut, feeding your biome. You can watch me make my daily shake, but here's the list of ingredients that are in there. Really great stuff. And so the idea is, think of your gut as a compost pile. If you put stuff in there that can rot, that's a good deal. If you put stuff that won't rot, it's got preservatives, it's made in a plant like a factory instead of grows on a plant. If you put that highly processed stuff in there, your biology in there just goes, what the hey is this, man? I'm going to store this over here until I figure out what to do with it. And there you go, belly fat from just all those weird things that just go in there that they don't know what to deal with, right? They don't like change either. That was a different episode. So Frans, we've known each other for, well, you've known me for some time, and I wanted to get your input for this episode on noise pollution and on the stress that comes, what happens to your gut-brain connection when you're, what did you call it? Assaulted by noise?
Assaulted by noise, yes.
So, well, first off, just so you guys know, technically, what is your, you are a pipe organ master builder. Yeah. Okay, so this is a guy that crawls inside and outside of pipe organs, right?
In tight places, and
So you know sound.
I know sound.
So you're very familiar then your entire career with what noise does to our whole being. Is that accurate?
That is totally accurate. I've been at it for 42 years, and all those years made mental notes on how that affects us as people, not only in myself, but also observing other people, how their whole being gets affected.
So what happens to our ability to connect with our intuition, our gut, when we're surrounded by noise? Like right here, I mean, we're just on our patio, but it's downtown.
Yeah, we get affected in many different ways. Not just physically. It affects our nervous system primarily, I would say. But also our immune system is affected, our concentration is affected. We can think straight if it is excessive, like it is often. And if that lasts long enough, we can feel the tension in ourselves rising. And you can probably hear what's going on outside here. The tension is rising, and soon enough, we're a bundle of nerves. And then we have to go out and do something to relax. Which
right.
is,
how about if we go to your sound studio and you can, and I can think again, because they've heard in previous episodes that it just shuts down. It's like I can't follow my intuition like I did cycling across America when I'm just assaulted by all the noise. And so let's head there.
okay, let's do it.
Frans, tell me a little bit about what happens to us when we choose to be in a noisy environment, or we allow ourselves to be bombarded by other people's noise.
Yeah, one big one is your stress level goes up. But we as humans have the ability to, they call it tune things out, which is really a false idea, because you cannot tune anything out. What you hear, what you see, you can kind of build an artificial wall around that, like a protective bubble, but you are still affected by the same sound that you expose yourself to, but you're not conscious of it as much.
So our biology has been developed over, well, it depends on who you talk, but at least 10,000 years since creation, or millennia for evolutionists. And nevertheless, we've got 1 trillion cells in our gut. We've got several billion, 20 billion neurons in our brain, and somehow those are able to talk to each other. But we've only had noise in this world like we do now for decades.
Yes, that's right. Now that's a very interesting point, because before those noisy decades we had sounds of nature. Now, sound in nature, there are no sounds that are too loud, too strident, too unpleasant in any which way, unless it is a sign of warning or a sign of distress, or the expressions of the larger rebalancing acts of Mother Earth, which is earthquakes, hurricanes and all that. But that is once in a while. In the last decades, we have exposed ourselves to the most unnatural sounds, and we can't really cope with that unless we have a protective bubble around us in some way, or we have become addicted to that sound, and which is, in my observations, very often the case.
Talk to me about, I mean, I understand the physics of it, but those of us that are watching this may think like a scotoma, right? It's just a scotoma. So they may think that sound only affects you through your ears.
No, it affects us in many different ways. It goes through our skin, through the organs of our body, our whole nervous system gets affected, our immune system gets affected. We think we are relaxed when we sit down in a chair and think about nothing, but we really are not when we are exposed to these sounds. It affects us profoundly, and I would even go as far as to say that a lot of illnesses and discomfort that people experience are directly related to sound pollution.
Sound is all around us. We're in all kinds of environments. What are some of the worst ones that we typically spend time around and aren't even aware of it?
Good question. Particularly troublesome, I think, are environments like coffee shops, restaurants. They are built on the inside with hard surfaces, reflective surfaces. And what happens is when people come in and they start talking, the music bounces off these hard surfaces. People cannot hear one another, so they start raising their voices. And raising, and raising, and raising, to the point that everybody is screaming at one another. And you can imagine the cacophony that comes from that. Another one is what is a favorite with many people, especially of the male side of our species, is mufflers. Car mufflers. Oh, let's make it even louder so we feel more. Now another one that is even more insidious is what happens in grocery stores. And what happens there is the music may not be so loud, but it is the type. And I'm not talking about musical preferences here. I'm talking about what these particular sounds do and how it affects us. And psychologists figure this out, and they offer their knowledge to these corporations, and they use it in a grocery store. Okay, you get a song, a wailing voice about something that you can't understand, mostly computer generated. And the whole thing is on 2 or 3 notes, endlessly repeating itself, and the whole thing is set to a military rhythm. Personally, I need to walk away from it because it is affecting me in a very, very bad way, because I'm conscious of it all the time. Now, most people may not be conscious of it, but it still affects them.
Sure. So the sounds pass straight through us. We're aware of some of it playing in all these different locations. What is sound therapy, and why are we looking at some beautiful set of old pipes here?
Now, the interesting part in this discussion is that we're talking about sound pollution and sound in general. If we get to a state where our nervous system is sizzling from in a negative way, from all the sounds that we are exposed to, there are remedies that are used in sound healing, or sound therapy, as I sometimes call it, that employ sound to undo those effects. But it is sounds that are never louder than what you hear in nature. And of course, through research we know the effects of it. So we will never choose sounds that are strident, that are harmful. We know this stuff. So this is a sound healing studio, and these organ pipes, this setup is my own invention, because I know the sound very well. I've worked with organs for 42 years. I know what it does to me, and I know what it does to others through observation. I found that playing these in a certain configuration, like a drone, if you will put people in a very deep meditative state. So deep that it helps with the body's own ability to heal itself. And this is one of the important things in the medical world. It's important for them, to anyone in this field to know, is that when the body cannot relax enough, the body cannot heal itself, or at least the ability of the body to heal itself is seriously impaired. So part of my work here is to offer that possibility. And also, this is educational. I teach people why exposure to sound pollution, as I call it, is harmful and what it does to them. And then offer various methods, not just organ pipes, but a number of other things I use to undo those effects and to send them home with things they can do at home. They don't need to see me all the time. So that they understand what is happening to them and they become conscious of what they are exposed to. That's a big part of my work.
Quick, say what you're going to say because it's fairly quiet on the deck, but time to wrap this one up. There's a lot to think about in this one, particularly because we're trying to put awareness of how noise affects not just our thinking, but our ability to connect with our gut. In the Worth Thinking About episode number 1, we talked about scotomas, those blind spots, those things that we're not even aware of, right? We're unconsciously incompetent. We don't even know what we don't know. In episode 2, we talked about illusions, the way people game us, the way companies game us, the way we're being played as humans because we're not aware of what's around us. And episode 3, we talked a little bit about change, about what do we do once we become aware to start making these iterations and start climbing up our personal Everest step by step. Well, in this one, there's a lot to apply. Think about what you stick in your mouth, how that rots in your gut or not, and how that connection with those trillion cells happens with the billions of neurons you have here. How's that connection? It's all worth thinking about. Now, if you want to talk to Frans, I'd encourage you to drop him a note. You can meet him at 360min.net. You can go to his website. Here's his link. And sure enough, stick your toes in the water. You can subscribe easily enough just by clicking on that YouTube channel. And if you really want to come do something, find us at one of the cities. We're going to be in Phoenix in just a couple of weeks, and you can join us at a meetup. But in any case, it's all worth thinking about.